Introduce our first role, and the first role that we're going to introduce in order to help us on this model is the product owner. Okay? Now, the product owner, I'll draw them right over here, is a very important role. And I like to say, I'll label it as PO. I like to say that the product owner, relative to the team, is outwardly focused. Okay? They have a connection to the stakeholders, a connection to the business. They understand the vision. They understand the product. The product is what we are all about building. If this was a software development thing and we were building a ticketing system, they would understand exactly what's needed to build and deliver this ticketing system. Okay? So that's the product owner. They have this vision. They're outwardly focused, worrying about what we're going to deliver. And also the product owner is very much aware of the priority and the effort and value of these stories. They're concerned about effort and value, and let me tell you why. He mentioned something called maximizing the amount of work not done. A very important concept in Agile Scrum. And it really is one of the biggest reasons that we can make claims like Jeff Sutherland did in his book about doing twice the work in half the amount of time. That's kind of the secret sauce a little bit. Because studies have confirmed over and over again that when we stack up all of these ideas here in the backlog, 80% of the value comes from 20% of the requirements. 80% of the value comes from 20% of the requirements. Important to understand that. Because the product owner, they're delivering in order of value. So they want to mine those 20% high value features first and deliver them first. This gives a steep value curve to the stakeholders. We like that, the steep value curve, because what often happens is the stakeholders will say, you know what, these things that when we started talking about this that I thought were so important, it's not so important after all. It's called trimming the tail, and it's like cutting off a lot of these nice to haves, just keeping the meat of this, the must haves, and delivering 80% of the value by only doing 20% of the features. So that's the focus of the product owner. Okay. So the product owner will make a decision, yes or no, and what they will decide is, does this feature, does this idea, does it add value to the product? Okay, now let me give you an example. I'm on the Polaris team, as I mentioned. When we started this thing, we go out to plants and we do what's called rapid prototyping. And it gives them an idea of the solution that we offer, and they begin to start responding to us saying, yeah, it looks good, but it doesn't do this or that, where they kind of identify gaps. And sometimes when they identify gaps, we say, well, why do you need to do this or that? And then they'll say, well, our old system did that. And then we'll say, well, why did the old system do that? Well, the system before that, we did that, and it's kind of like the old story of, the mother that always cut off the roast on both ends because the pan was too small, and that's the kind of thing. And so you get back to way back to the initial requirement, and it's kind of like, you know what, this was a defensive thing that you guys put in your plant because of a deficiency in a system. We don't have that deficiency anymore. So it's like, then the product owner says, this is a local plant thing. We are not adding this to a global system. Okay, so you need to change your process. We'll get you some training. We'll make sure that you have the fundamental need, but we're not going to do specifically what you asked for. That answer is a no. And when they say no, most likely that'll just end up not going in the backlog. It'll get trashed. If they say yes, it goes into the backlog and gets identified, or it'll have an effort and priority identification so that this product owner is able then to feed this to the team in order of priority, as I mentioned.